This is a coaching session where I go over the importance of wins, the death of ritual, and the importance of rhythm in our lives. If you want to make money long term, build a business over a long period of time, or do anything meaningful that takes time in your life, you need to understand that doing the same thing every day is not exactly how you succeed. It comes from doing things in a rhythm. We need the rhythm of struggle and success. And if we don't have those moments where we know that we have succeeded, then we will break the system of progress. The message is, in conclusion, this is the journey, so let's start living it. As opposed to, let's look for the next discovery. Wins are a thing that can be just something you put in a journal, or they can be something that you live, something that you feel, something that you know. These cultural changes are very noticeable with children. I've spoken a lot with fathers about sort of the death of ritual and the death of holidays and patterns, because a lot of times in modern lifestyle, we lose the 7-day work week. We lose the summer vacation. We lose the Christmas holiday. That's kind of the modern American dream, is to break free of those things, right? I don't want to have my 9-to-5 job. But along with I don't want to have my 9-to-5 job, often it's my weekend is now gone. Like, I'm either working really hard to do my side hustle on the weekend, or I have more free time. And, what's the difference between a Friday and Saturday? Because I kind of work the same amount both days, and it's fine. We lose a lot of our patterns, and it's so obvious with children how important, say, a Friday night, a family dinner, or the Saturday picnic, or the Sunday church, or the Saturday church, or the fact that we're all looking forward to Thanksgiving dinner together. These are things that kids very obviously respond to, but adults are highly affected by, even though they don't notice it. Well, really, I guess nobody notices it. It just plays out. The kids don't notice it. They just are responsive to it, and when you're observing, you can see it. Adults don't observe themselves as much, so they don't notice when it doesn't impact them, or when it does impact them. So one of the jobs of a king is to say, the harvest is in, we worked hard, we did a good job, and it's time to celebrate. Every pre-First World society has always had a harvest festival. That's always been a thing. If it's in every single society, there's probably a reason why. And it's because we celebrate our success, we are grateful for the thing that we have, we connect, we give ourselves happiness to fuel ourselves for the hard times of the winter. It's both preparation and celebration. And that has a very strong impact on how a human is able to make progress in life, because humans are cyclical. And so it creates this cycle of tension and release. There's work to bring in the harvest. Then there's celebration to, enjoy the fact that you worked really hard. That's just a single example of something that's supposed to exist all over the place. You're supposed to go to the field and work really hard, and then get done working, and then feel like you worked hard, and then relax, right? You were sweaty, you were in the field digging, and now you're tired, and now you're done. And don't get me wrong, I'm very pro technology. I'm very pro, having a luxurious lifestyle. But the cycle of this, I worked hard, and so now my rest is guilt-free. I worked hard, and now my rest is well-deserved. It's not even deserved, it's required, because if I don't rest, I can't do it again tomorrow. All of these things make it possible for us to do good work. And they are the ingredients of a happy life, right? When you work hard and then you go hug your partner, knowing that you have worked hard, you feel a particular sensation that is different from just a random hug, when you are doing this together. But the thing that makes it possible for you to feel that is simply the registering of a win. It's the registering of an event. And so the Harvest Festival was very obvious. Crops were in the field. Crops are now in the barn. Ergo, success. Now we celebrate. That gets lost in the modern world because it's more subtle. Like, you just get the money direct deposited to the checking account, and you don't even have to check your notifications. You can turn them off. You might not even know if you got a deposit. Like, where's the win here? It's just there's money in the bank account. And so any way that you can create a cycle of both tension and release in your life is usually good if it's done on purpose. The tension of the work, the release of the celebration, and just have to engineer it in the modern world. And so you can do this in a really concrete, patternistic way of it's on the calendar. Every Friday night we do this, blah, 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 blah. But then also there's the internal game. There's the internal mindset that can drive you forward, which is to simply feel it, to simply register it, to say it in your mind. I did this thing. There's a dating coach. He basically socialized himself out of autism. Like, he was borderline autistic, incredibly socially awkward, just had all sorts of struggles. And he practiced just being social in order to get himself out of his funk. That was kind of like his journey. And he became sort of a social expert, and now he coaches dating. He talks a lot about how he would walk up to people in general and try to speak with them and try to have a conversation. And at first, this was incredibly difficult for him because he really was like pretty much autistic. He wouldn't be able to present himself correctly. He would have trouble with his social interaction. He wouldn't know how to communicate. He wouldn't know why somebody reacted poorly to him. There was just all sorts of things that he was struggling with. He talks a lot about how he would do that, and then when somebody rejected him, he'd walk up to a pretty girl and she'd just, make a ugly face and be like, "Why are you talking to me?" And he'd walk away, or he'd walk up to a guy and be like, "Dude, what are you doing here? Why are you here?" And he'd experience rejection, and he'd walk away going in his head, 1,000 out of 10. 1,000 out of 10. That was a fantastic interaction. Because he was so down in the dumps socially that he knew that if he continued to interact, it would improve and it would have good results for him. He knew he had to do something to get himself to do it again. And a lot of people talk about don't get a big ego, don't pump up your accomplishments too much. But he was in a really low situation, and so it was his job to pump himself up as much as possible. Almost nobody would be willing to experience this level of shame. Almost nobody would be willing to experience this level of embarrassment from another person, this level of rejection, 1,000 out of 10. And then he'd go out and he'd talk to the next person. And he'd keep doing it until he hyped himself up and, started to develop social graces and whatnot. He started to get different results. And that reinforcement of what is good is really one of the key things in life to good behavior. Have I recommended the book Don't Shoot the Dog to you? This might be a good time. This book is amazing, and it's written by an animal trainer who's been doing it for decades. It's a book on positive reinforcement training. And in the intro, she says, these are kind of universal concepts that work for all mammals. And by the way, all of my dolphin trainer friends have really great kids. In other words, this works on humans. And it also works on the self, right? And so she tells stories about getting herself to do something by giving herself chocolate treats, right? She was experimenting with her own behavioral reinforcement. The win is the fundamental of behavioral reinforcement. The win is good job, right? And the thing that you did good job on is the thing you should do more of. And it's very important to know that people who are told not to do something because it's bad will stop doing that behavior, but their next behavior will be unpredictable because they are only told what not to do. But if somebody is told that something is good and that they should do it again, then they will do that specific thing again. And so positive reinforcement on every level is higher fidelity. It's more precise, it's more effective across almost every industry, behavior, etc. Almost every mammalian behavior, basically. Positive reinforcement is better. That is not to say negative reinforcement is not necessary. Negative reinforcement is, well, that's the word, necessary. Positive reinforcement helps you thrive. Negative reinforcement helps you survive. And so both of these are very important, right? And a lot of self-development is based around negative reinforcement. The basic common self-development, like imagine how bad your situation is going to be if you don't do this thing, right? That's negative reinforcement. And so that's don't do this bad thing. But it's not as specific as imagine how good your life is going to be if you do this specific thing. So wins, make it a lifestyle. You make it a lifestyle and you start to do really incredible things. The next level is you do it in your head. You start by documenting and then you move to doing it in your head. If you want to set up a pattern of success in your life to make more money, build an audience, or get your life together, then go to the link in the description or go to apply.joshterryplays.com.